Welcome back to my channel. Anastasia here. This video is going to be particularly of lower quality because I broke my light thingamajiggy, and so lighting is going to be extra terrible, more than usual, so I do apologize. I will get that fixed very soon, and I thank you for your patience, for staying with me along this journey of evolution. Today, I felt called to speak about love. Oh, love, love, love. Such an important part of our lives, undeniably. You can attempt to deny so. But I mean, hey, who am I to say such a thing? I have notes in my attempt to stay clear and concise. If you see me looking at them, that's what's going on. If you're new to this channel, welcome. I'm sure you have somehow found me for a very strange reason, because this is a very, for lesser of better words, strange channel. I'm done with that. But yes, let's just hop right on into it. So, ego love versus agape. First of all, the origin of the word agape, Greek, translating unconditional love. Unconditional, no conditions. All right. The separation within yourself. Have you ever realized that there is almost two separate parts of yourself? There could be more than that in some sense, but what I mean here is the unconscious and the conscious mind, right? So the unconscious, dominated by your intuition, it's that feeling, right? That gut feeling that a lot of the times you don't listen to it, but in the end, you knew that you already knew, right? You knew. Conscious mind, dominant, the ego. It's the rational, logical side of things. Now, both of these parts of you are there for a reason. They are important, right? So I would connect that intuition with the feeling and the ego with emotion. What is triggering your emotions? What is in control of your emotions? What are they connected to? Is it your feeling that triggers emotion? In observation and perspective, I think arguably it is so. You know, certain days you feel different, and then because of the way you're feeling, your emotional control, observation, analyzation, and even senses are working at a different level. For example, when you don't sleep well, your emotions are a little bit more fluctuating. Let me digress a little bit here. Intuition, ego. Intuition connected to the feeling, the gut, the inner knowing. So the inside of you. Ego, emotion, outward projected, right? The outside of you, what you are displaying to the world and how you choose to display it. So there are many, obviously, different types of people in this world, okay? And there are some people that show up very authentic and very raw. And then there are other people that build a persona based on their personality, right? Now, personality and persona are different, but they're definitely intertwined. And a lot of the times what we go through in our lives can definitely affect our personality and how we decide to project that to the world. But this is where you can start to analyze within yourself that inner separation between who you truly are, what you truly think and what you truly believe, versus what you think you have to believe, or the way you think you have to act, or the way you think you have to dress, have to talk, have to behave in any certain way in order to fit into a mold. Often the times that mold being of acceptance. People want to feel connected to other people, and people generally want to feel a part of a communal space. Now, you know, there's very natural psychological reasons for a species for wanting to behave this way. Now, although many individuals still identify themselves with their outside circumstances, such as their jobs or clothing, if these circumstances were to change, then some individuals would then experience a loss of their identity, because these external things have become a part of the definition of who they are, which in reality is not actually who they are. They are much more complex, dynamic beings than just their societal titles, right? So feminine energy and masculine energy, each of us have both of these energies within us. And the real ultimate goal here is coming to an equal balance. Although, you know, it is absolutely normal for individuals to be polarized a little more to one side than the other, but an imbalanced polarization will lead to a spiritual equilibrium. So the thing is, most of us are more connected with the ego. Now, the issue here with the ego being uncontrolled is that the ego can lead us into self-deception and illusion. Because if the ego is being uncontrolled, then we are disconnected to the intuition, our feelings. And think about examples throughout your life where, you know, whether it was a relationship, a job, a certain scenario, you had this inner knowing that this was either bad or good for you, but you decided to overthink the scenario because you thought you were being paranoid to begin with. You doubted that part of yourself to begin with, and over-rationalized the scenario to the point where you ended up still fooling yourself. And you could have avoided, theoretically, could have avoided that scenario because you actually already knew that this was not the right choice for you. I personally think that, you know, the ego has its purpose. It's obviously part of you for a reason. And I think that the ego can be a powerful tool once it's actually being properly directed. It needs some sort of direction. So if the ego is running rampant, then you can be delusioning yourself. But if you actually learn to gain control of the ego and begin approaching the rational mind in the correct way, that is when you can reconnect yourself with the intuition, which so much of us have left behind. Now, here's my terrible diagram that I'm sure you can barely see. But look, okay, this is your body, your mind, the head, ego, mind, connection. The body's down here, unconscious mind. The body, right? Maybe we can also use like a snake. Oh my God, I cannot draw a snake. Maybe also we can use a snake as a representation for what I'm trying to say here. So if the ego mind is constantly perceiving things within its life, perceiving information, but that information isn't properly being digested within the body, then there's going to be a disconnect in the translation. So there's a disconnect within yourself between the feminine and masculine energy. They're not properly communicating, which is going to lead us into issues. I have mentioned this in some of my previous videos, but to bring up another tangible example for you to relate to, I'm sure you've met somebody who is being just completely run by their ego mind. And this person most likely believed that they have achieved a level of success far before they actually have. Confidence generally is a quiet thing, right? Confidence doesn't necessarily need to scream at you in order to be present or known. And in that same sense, an artist of any type, whether that be a painter or whatnot, would never have to claim how great of an artist they are. I'm the best rapper of the world. They wouldn't have to do so because the world would actually affirm that tangible reality for them. And there is a fine line between believing in yourself and then actually fooling yourself. We like to rush to the extremes of things, but I think we forget the gray zone a lot of the times when it comes to taking in information, because I know that all the manifestation coaches, maybe not all of them, but a lot of them will tell you that fake it till you make it. And I believe that there is power within this whole concept, but I don't think it's the totality of the concept, right? Like, you can believe something to be true all you want. You can tell me the sky is purple, and maybe for you it's purple, but arguably for everybody else it's blue. Moving on. In regards to relationships and love, how does the ego play its role within this? Now, love is such a large importance for many of us, and it plays a large role in many of our lives, undeniably. Although I would argue that many people don't truly understand the cosmic definition of love. Now, love is what I would define to mean united, right? Yoga, yoke. We want to weave everything together, assimilate it into one unity. This is love, true love, unconditional. Now, a lot of people pick partners based on shallow aspects, especially in today's society. Hollywood, social media, music industries. There is definitely a theme of coldness and heartlessness, and basically being romantic is out of style, right? I'm sure many of you have experienced that. So the thing is that this theme of shallowness trickling down into society is going to trickle right down into our relationships and our happiness long term. Because the thing is, if you're choosing a partner not based on true love and only based on some sort of egotistical pursuit, whether that be knowingly or unknowingly, right? Depends how self-aware you are as an individual and how honest with yourself you are as an individual, is that looks fade. And I think a lot of people forget this, right? So I'm not going to say that there isn't a level of importance when it comes to the magnetic attraction between two individuals and that polarization effect. I think that plays an importance, but it's obviously not going to be the way you look that is going to get you very far within a relationship or even life on its own, right? There's more than just that aspect. So if you're a man or a woman simply picking a partner based on the way they look, you're definitely not in it for the long-term run, because looks are going to fade. It doesn't matter, you know, whether you've got any kind of surgical enhancement or not. What really is going to matter long-term wise is who you are inside, right? And if you've truly get along with this person and truly built a love for this person and redeemed the love from this person, you didn't just decide that this person brings me some sort of happiness, and so that's why I want to be with them, because that is a very egotistical lens. Now, you can observe so many relationships failed these days. Divorce is on the up and up of a rise, statistically speaking. And so this is my theory. One little piece to the puzzle, because there's definitely going to be different aspects at play. But I do believe that the uncontrolled ego is leading many people, both men and women, of all kinds, to choose partners based on their ego instead of actually based on real love. Because, you know, true love is going to require somebody to transform. You can't unify an aspect of yourself without first dissolving a certain part of yourself, right? So to an egotistical person, dissolving and unifying an aspect of themselves can be an absolutely terrifying thing, because the ego wants to remain individualistic. It wants to remain separate. It wants to remain better. More power, more control. But love is beyond any of that. Don't get me confused here, because I know I speak about the process of individuation in requirement for an adept on a spiritual journey. But I don't mean that in quite the same sense, because even when you are individuating from the lunar masses, it's going to come full circle. As you see, most of us in the beginning, when we are born, are very much connected with our unconscious mind. We are connected with our intuition. But as we grow older, we are infiltrated and indoctrinated from society. And so we actually lose touch and we get further and further away from ourselves. And that's why we have to then pull back away from the masses in order to step away from their influence, so we can actually reconnect with our true selves and differentiate between the opinions given to you and the opinions you truly at the core have. And therefore, if you're only picking a partner based on the way they look or some sort of shallow thing in regards to that, long-term wise, most likely the relationship isn't going to hold up. You are not going to find happiness. Have you ever experienced being in a relationship and feeling more alone than ever before? Well, this could be in correlation. As hard as this will be in today's society, the magnetic attraction, and the personality, the actual soul of that person, is going to both have to play a factor within your relationship. You know, it happens both ways. A lot of people are only dating people because they're good looking, they're attracted to them, and then some people are choosing partners because they feel safe with this person and not in an actual positive oriental way, because this person doesn't threaten their ego. Sometimes this can be an example as a beautiful woman. You know, a man may have not approached a certain woman he was very attracted to out of his own insecurities and fear. And so this woman's too much of a threat for his ego, so he'll settle with a less threatening woman. But the thing is, if this woman has no actual magnetic pull on him, and if this woman doesn't actually, you know, love him, and he hasn't actually redeemed her love, then again, the sexual energy is going to leak outside of the relationship. Unfortunately, I have to wrap this up today because I am fighting with storage as per usual. So thank you so much for joining me today. I think I will go ahead and make a part 2 if I feel called to, because I didn't really feel that I have completed the message that I wanted to exactly translate here, because it can get a little bit paradoxical. Thank you so much. Wishing you a great day wherever you are in the world.